abortions will be the cause for a high mortality rate in the United States of America. That sounds like a very shocking statement, I understand. In the year 2022, Roe v. Wade was abolished under it being considered unconstitutional. This meant that a woman's right to abortion was no longer a private matter, but rather an issue made for the state. It is sad that in 2022, we're still arguing whether a woman has anatomical right to her own body. But granted that, it does not only affect women, but it affects all of our anatomy and our rights. By taking away women's rights, we'll be increasing, the United States of America will lose millions of dollars. It will increase poverty rates, and therefore increase crime, as well as high death rates. I will be going through 3 main points: the issues of healthcare. Secondly, where our money goes and how it does not help the people that need it the most. And lastly, the effects of the people that chose a life that they did not choose. Firstly, in an article written by Alice Miranda Olson, she explains the harshness that banishing Roe v. Wade caused to people that seek out medication. Now, I'd like to state this by saying that medication is not a one-size-fits-all, or in this case, a one-pill-cures-all. Many people that take medication have had to go through many trials, through months or even years, to find the medication that works for them. One that does not react badly to their body, one that does not cause suicidal thoughts, depression, tooth decay, lung failure, heart cancer, kidney failure, and much more. An account on TikTok by the name of Ackerman tells a little bit about her experience, in which when Roe v. Wade was abolished, she got called in by her doctor to tell her that she had to change out her heart medication. This is the only medication that worked for her, and if she did not take this medication, she would have high fatality rates. But unfortunately, she was no longer to access this medication due to a probable side effect, or in this case, a side effect, in which by taking this medication, if she were to get pregnant, the medication would cause her body to immediately push out the fetus, causing an abrupt miscarriage. This means that any medication that could have this side effect is now banned. This means that many people that suffer with seizures, heart attacks, or arthritis, and much more will no longer have access to this medication that they so desperately need due to the possibility of a miscarriage. This does not only affect females, but also men, due to the fact that by having medication, they have the option to give it to a woman to cause an abrupt miscarriage. However, in the Bill of Texas, it states that an abortion can only be induced in a life or death situation. But I'd like to ask, what is considered a life or death situation? With the human body, we state that when a brain no longer works, or it is considered death, when the brain no longer works, it is considered death, because we know that after that, they will no longer be able to wake up or be able to live a normal life. And it is considered cruel to keep their organic matter alive, knowing that they will never be able to survive on their own. That is considered death. We consider it death when the lungs are no longer viable for life. However, in the state of Texas, it states that life begins when a heartbeat starts. So you can imagine the distraught that happened to a woman and her husband who were so excited to bring a new life into this world. And when they found out that their baby had been born without a skull, that meant that their baby was no longer susceptible to life. However, in the state of Texas, it's not dead yet. So you can imagine how distraught she was when she had to be turned away and had to wait multiple weeks until its heartbeat had to stop. That meant she had to carry a decaying fetus inside of her for many weeks until it actually died, until then she was provided an abortion. Now, let's imagine that the situation that a woman faces is not as severe as this. That's where pregnancy crisis centers come in. Now, although you might not have heard of them, they're always placed near a Planned Parenthood. This is due to the fact that in order to plan out an abortion, you need to make an appointment, which can last 1 to 2 weeks. After that, you have to pay a fee beforehand. And then after that, you have to pay your entire experience out of pocket, because most insurances will not cover it. And even then, you have to wait another 24 hours for your final decision. This can be hard for many people, so they seek out these pregnancy crisis centers. But they're not actually pregnancy crisis centers. They are anti-abortion counseling, in which many women get tricked into going into these and get talked out of the idea of having an abortion by giving fake facts and fake statistics. Now, this is not entirely bad, since some of them do provide food, water, baby formula, clothes for the baby, and diapers. However, the only way of earning these are through mommy points, which have to be earned by doing a 1-hour consultation every day. And even then, these mommy points get cashed out, in which they are not given the choice on what they get to use it, since the clinic thinks that they are not responsible to choose correctly, so they will choose for them. All of these clinics are not actually clinics, therefore they do not have to follow HIPAA regulations, which means that if a woman goes in unknowing of its cause and confirms that they have a pregnancy through their ultrasounds, and they do not come back, and the clinic finds out that they have an abortion, they can easily release their documents to the police and lead to incarceration, since they are not actual medical clinics. Now, funny enough, these clinics are nonprofits, that they have to get the money from somewhere. So where did the money come from? It comes from us. It comes from our taxes. The Health and Human Services found out that in 2022, more than $15 million was allocated by the state of Texas and were given to abortion alternatives. This is $20 million more than what was given to services for children that have, than it was given to children with health issues, so anyone that was born without limbs or any of that. And it was given, most of this money was given to abortion alternatives rather than these kids who need it. Not only that, but by giving this money to the clinics instead of the people directly, they're not able to access this money as soon as they need it and have to go through multiple consultations to win these mommy points. Aside from that, it has been reported that women with lower education are more likely to get pregnant. That means that most of these women that go on these consultations are actually on the poverty line and of low education. An interview done by Frontline PBS shows us how one of the women that was living in one of these crisis centers already had 8 children, 2 of them living with her sister, 5 in foster care, and one of them was currently living with her when she was just there about a year ago. And that's what usually happens. Most of these women have nowhere to go, so they will get pregnant again and come back the following year. Now that I have told you about that, then let's state about these children that end up in these situations. Sometimes adoption or the foster care system seems to be easier on the parent than it is with the child. Around 420,000 children and youth are in foster care system, in which 50% will not get adopted, because the other 50% will be readopted by their biological parents. However, what happens to the other 50%? 90% of them 90% of all children in foster care system will experience trauma. 25% will attempt suicide. 40% will end up homeless as soon as they turn 18. 81 of the men will become incarcerated and become drug addicts. And 71% of the women will become pregnant before the age of 25, in which those children will end up in the foster care system once again. In conclusion, pro-lifers will be the cause for many deaths in the United States. It is important when choosing a political stance to not only think of your own morality, but the morality of other people. By taking away a human right for one group, it affects all human rights, directly or indirectly. And I hope by explaining some data and statistics, you are able to understand that pro-choice means all of our choices. Thank you.